This week on A Tale of Two Geeks, we're going to be talking about Kevin Smith again. Because A, he's fucking amazing, and B, he's fucking amazing. Also, we saw him at Zany's last night in Nashville. It was amazing.
It was for Jay and Silent Bob Get Old. It was a podcast they do to help keep Jason Mewes on the straight and narrow for sobriety, but apparently at this time, because he's, almost 8 years now?
Almost 8 years. I think he's like 5 more weeks.
5 weeks away. It's not really keeping him on the straight and narrow, even though, because he's got a kid and everything, so all of his attention's focused on his daughter. But it was a fucking amazing show.
It was amazing. It was hilarious. They told stories.
I played Let Us Fuck! But before we get into that, real quick, people have said never meet your heroes. I say, fuck that. Meet your heroes, and if they're dicks, they're dicks. But if they're not, like Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, then they're fucking just amazing guys. So, Brandy, take us away.
I mean, I totally fucking agree with that, because I've definitely met famous people before that I was like, oh, I fucking loved you, and blah, 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 or you're amazing, and blah, 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 or whatever. And then, they look at you like, plebeian, why are you talking to me?
You're a mere peasant. Be gone.
Don't you know who I am? And with the exception of, stating that name dropping his name can basically get him anywhere he wants to go on a Dolly Parton stage.
Or a theme park.
Unless
they're not open.
With the exception of that, there's not really that many allusions to the fact that he's Kevin Smith. It's not like he's just some random guy that's trying to make it in the world. He's fucking Kevin Smith.
Real quick, when he was telling that story about going to the Dolly Parton concert, because he was on this whole long story about him and his buddy Malcolm, and his friend Malcolm had bought him Dolly Parton tickets because his dad loved Dolly Parton. But anyways, he had these special badges with, lanyards and stuff, and every time he would come up to a security checkpoint, they'd just say, move along. You don't belong here. Keep going forward.
And every time they'd be like, you don't belong here, he'd be like, oh, see, I knew I wasn't supposed to get this far.
But see, to me, while he's telling that story, the only thing that I can think of while he's saying, to me, it's like, move to the next level. It was a D&D quest to me. This motherfucker had an adventure at a Dolly Parton quest where, every time we come up to a security guard, it's like a little mini-boss, and they're like, no, you've defeated me with your magical lanyard of fucking Kevin Smith power. Move along.
But see, that was kind of the great thing. That's kind of the great thing about Kevin Smith, though, right? Even in the story where he's telling about how, he used his name to get tickets.
Malcolm used his name to get tickets.
Yes. His friend used his name to get tickets. His friend used his name to get tickets, and they went, because apparently Dolly Parton's big in the gay community. I'm half gay, and I didn't know that. I think it's because I grew up in Tennessee, so to me Dolly Parton's like Dolly Parton. But anyway.
I love Dolly.
I do too. But anyway, we're getting off topic. This isn't about Dolly Parton.
No, this is the Tale of Two Geeks, where we fucking go on a diatribe of...
We go off on tangents, and then we're like, what were we talking about again? Anyway, so the great thing about Kevin Smith telling the story about how he name-dropped his name, or his friend name-dropped his name to get these tickets, is that, so, that's kind of a boast, right? My name can get me tickets.
Anywhere I want to go.
But in the story, he basically keeps expecting his name to not get him any further.
Yeah, they're
in the beginning, he's standing outside with the regular ticket holders, and then he gets up there with the lanyard, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And
you don't belong here. You need to move along.
And he was like, "I'm trying to go see Dolly Parton," and they were like, "You don't belong here. You just go inside.
Go to the next checkpoint."
And he just kept progressing, and then finally he gets to the place where there's a security guard who's in an actual uniform and has a gun. And he's like, oh, shit. This guy's going to tell me to stop.
This is the end of the road right here. And what does he say? Move along. They're like, I can't go any further. It's the fucking stage. And he's like, yeah, at this point in time, you could go on stage and be with Dolly Parton. And he's like, oh.
He didn't
I'm
realize,
not going to.
He didn't realize that, but because of that, because he realized in that moment that Dolly Parton and Dolly Parton's people were so, awe-inspired by the name of Kevin Smith, he continued to go to her concerts.
I think
he became a fan of hers, in part because,
Didn't he say he went to 3 concerts?
Yeah, he went to 3 concerts. He basically followed her. He became a deadhead for Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
But that was amazing.
I think that touches Bourbon on his humbleness.
That's what I was gonna say. He's humble.
As
right?
an individual, Kevin Smith is I'm just Kevin Smith, and everybody's like, no, you're Kevin Smith.
Slight side story here. A friend of ours actually met him in person, and I think I might have told this before.
Natalie.
Yeah, Natalie met him in person. I miss you, Natalie. Come back to us. She met him in person at
Disney World or Land? Okay.
Land.
The one in Florida?
Yeah, no, the one in California.
I thought it was the one in Florida.
No, she went to California.
Well, he goes to either one of them. He goes to
But
fucking
Disney. He lives in California.
So he's been to the one in fucking Disney.
She went to California.
Or
therefore,
World because of the Harry Potter one.
Here's was the one in California.
Anyways,
she went to California. Anyway, you don't even know our friend's vacation. God.
I swear Natalie's gonna come back and be like, no, it was the one in Florida.
Anyway, no, because she went to Disneyland, not Disney World.
Oh my god! Continue.
Whatever. So, and she is back somewhere smoking, and she just happens to look up and see Kevin Smith with his mother. And so she was like, "Oh my God, you're Kevin Smith," and can I take a photo with you? But she was so awestruck that she forgot how to use her phone camera. And he was like, "Here, let me help you with that."
To which he replied that he's like, "Yeah, sometimes these things can be tricky. Here, let me help you." Boop, selfie.
So
Anyways,
he is so down to earth and humble, and it's amazing.
All right, let's pull our head out of his asses and get back to the
my
evening.
head needs to be further up Kevin Smith's ass.
You're not a proctologist. Dude. Come on,
I will be Kevin Smith's proctologist. That's fine.
Let's move on. Anyways, so when the evening starts, we're actually sitting next to a couple women that one of us tells me that she had caught the previous show because we had caught the 8:30. No, the 9 o'clock show. And I was like, so how was it? And they're like, it was terrible. I was like, oh. And they're like, no, it's fucking Kevin Smith. It was great. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, did they do pictures and stuff? And they're like, unfortunately, they did not do a meet and greet. And we're like, okay, it's fine. They've got busy schedules going on and shit like that. It's cool. Now, keep in mind, this is how close we were to the stage. My knee kept rubbing up against the carpet on Zany's at the stage. That's how fucking close I was to the stage.
He was so close to the stage that at one point, when the table that they were sitting behind wasn't straight, Harry reached up and moved the table for Kevin Smith. And Kevin Smith says,
"Thank you." Yeah, he just mouths because Jay had to move it to demonstrate what him and his old lady were doing because Jay was telling a sexy story like he always does. And when they went to move it back, you noticed that it was kind of pushed back further on one side, and I just reached up and grabbed it and pulled it back about 6 inches, and he looks at me and goes, "Thank you." And I was like, yeah, no problem. But they talk about, Dolly Parton and Jay, and talks about his, time with his lady, with his half hole.
which, I have to stop you for a moment. Jason Mewes, I would like to say to you, I'm hoping that one day you'll watch this. Fuck you for the half hole bullshit.
I know where this is going.
My husband tried that once.
It worked until she caught on to what the fuck I was doing. She was like, yes. Are you doing half hole? I'm like, no. Half hole. Half hole. Stop it. Doesn't it feel good though? Yes, but that's not the fucking point.
You can't steal Jason Mewes' fucking sex moves and use them on your wife.
I can if they fucking work.
No, because then I start laughing, which I shouldn't be I do want to laugh during sex with you all the time because it's hilarious. And, obviously, penises are funny looking.
Well,
But,
there's no argument there. Penises are funny looking.
But,
Sex.
you're not supposed to do half hole when we're having sex because obviously I'm going to start thinking about Jason Mewes. Do you want me thinking about Jason Mewes while you're fucking me? You're thinking about Jason Mewes while you're fucking me, aren't you? I knew it.
I'm sorry, Peter. It won't happen again. Name that movie.
Wait, are you talking about it won't happen again? Thinking about Jason Mewes, or it won't happen again?
I was making a movie reference because of Jason Mewes.
I'm just saying.
It was Dogma when he was asleep in the fucking train, and he like wakes up and he's like, "I'm sorry, Peter. It won't happen again."
Anyway, great movie, Dogma.
Anyways, okay, so we get to later in the evening after we've been regaled with tales of Kevin Smith in Tennessee because he went to Pigeon Forge, and he went up and down the souvenir strip because his friend Malcolm was like, "You'll fucking love it." And at first he was like, "Okay," but then he gets to the souvenir strip and he's like, "This is white trash fucking heaven. Of course I would love it." And then we get to a game that they play every time they go out somewhere. And it's called...
Let Us Fuck. Before we get to that story.
Okay.
There was a hilarious story that was told that happened in Nashville. Where his friend, Malcolm, all of us in Tennessee who live near Nashville know that apparently the town that Kevin Smith grew up in is like has the most fucking bars. Like,
well, he grew up in Red Bank, New Jersey.
No, he grew up
in New Jersey. Just
anyway, so that's the town. There's this town in Jersey that Jason Mewes grew up in, and I think that Kevin Smith did too.
Yeah.
That apparently has like the most bars in a square mile or some shit like that.
Well, yeah, and a block.
Whatever. And
which is a square mile.
He was like, I don't know. It's supposed to be, but it's not always everywhere because some places don't know, like civil engineering. But anyway, so then he came to this is his first time actually in the Broadway strip of the downtown strip of Nashville, and he sees all the bars and he's like, I don't know how he got in the Guinness Book of World Records for that because damn.
Yeah, because he does something that we as Tennesseans and as Nashvillians already know as as honky tonk, which is basically you go up and down Broadway.
Of course, we don't call it honky tonking.
No, we call it fucking bar hopping.
Yeah, it's bar hopping. You go bar hopping. You go from bar to bar. You literally park somewhere, and then you walk down one side of a strip, and then you walk back the other side of the strip, and you hit all the bars. And
like he explains it, Nashville is Music City for a reason, because you will walk into a building, and on the first level, you will hear bluegrass. You go on the second level of the same fucking building, and you will hear rap. You will hear on the third level, rock. You will hear on the fourth level, some kind of alternative.
Yeah, people think that Nashville's only country music, but that's bullshit. A lot of music comes out of here. And that's another thing that he didn't realize, that there's
the
bars on top of bars on top of bars.
Yeah, and it's not just one. You
go downstairs into a bar, and then you go in this one bar, and then if you go up the stairs, you're in a separate bar.
And none of them, and which I didn't think about it at the time before he told the story, but thinking about it now, he has an excellent point. Is none of them step on each other. You can be in one bar listening to, a Hank Williams cover band, and then go up a level, and then you're listening to a fucking heavy metal band. And you're like, that's fucking amazing. And neither one of them step on each other. And I guess I'm just used to it because I walk into a bar, I'm like, oh, well, no, this isn't really my type. I'm going to go, well, who's playing on third floor? Oh, okay, that's where I want to go. And while you're on third floor, you don't hear floors 1 or 2 or 4. But
yeah, we got really good at the science of soundproofing.
Yeah. Well, or just tuning the other shit out, because I'm pretty sure, the loudness of the crowd and the music and things like that.
Not really, because think about it. When you walk down Broadway, you don't really hear the cacophony of all of the music so much as you hear the cacophony of all of the people. And if you do hear a lot of the music, it's because it's coming out of the first floor.
Well, yeah. Like when you walk by a bar
And that's because they're doors
on
are
Broadway, the doors are open because they want to, pull the crowd in and shit like that. And you will hear it. But if you go a next door down, you won't hear the band that you just heard. You'll hear the band that you're listening to now. But anyways, he was marveling at all that, and we're like, yeah, I mean,
But
come
the
to
funny,
think about it, we're like, oh, fuck, yeah, that's right. They don't overstep their bounds. When
the
it comes
funny
to
part of that
shit.
story, though, apparently, is that his friend, the bear,
Oh, Malcolm.
was
I want to
so
meet this man.
convinced that that every other man who looked like him, like a bigger,
That's a fucking bear.
bearded,
I
manly looking
would
man.
have been a bear, but
No, you wouldn't be a bear. You're too skinny. You might be a leather daddy, but you wouldn't be a bear. Anyway,
yeah.
so anyway, he was so convinced that like all of these other men that looked like fatter versions of Harry were bears, and they were not.
You see that guy over there? That guy's a fucking bear. My
So
gaydar's on point.
he ended up, going over to talk to this guy,
This drummer of a
the
band.
drummer of a band, and he was not good.
Now, yeah, the way Kevin was explaining it was he was sitting there watching it, and while he was watching it, all he could read was the body language. Or, like Malcolm be like, like doing hands and shit like that. And then all of a sudden, Malcolm coming back and go, hey, we gotta go. And then they walking out and going back in this alley. And we're like, so what are we doing? And then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, he wasn't gay. And so you're like, well, but you had this build up that he was gay. And then all of a sudden he's like, no, my gaydar was off. But anyways, okay, so the whole night was kind of surreal too, because I'm used to seeing Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes on a huge fucking screen or on my phone or on a computer screen telling me these stories, and they are literally the way Kevin Smith would explain it. I could throw a wet wad of tissue at him and bust his spine. That's the way he explained how close he was to Dolly Parton. But it's so fucking surreal. You have a man that has developed everything, well, not everything, but a good chunk of what we follow and talk about and aspire to be, and you're like, dude, I could spit on you right now. I'm not going to.
I
but
mean,
you're
it
right
was
there.
it was crazy, right? Because we bought these tickets a long time ago,
Yeah.
and because we wanted to make sure that we got these tickets
Yes.
before they sold out.
2 days after we fucking bought them, they sold out.
But so we've had these tickets for a while, and we kept we were excited for it, and then obviously things
Daydreaming, fantasizing.
and so we were excited for it, we got more excited as the day came. Like, oh my god, we're gonna get to meet Kevin Smith. We're gonna see Kevin Smith live. Oh my god! And then the day came, and we were excited, right? Like, I got dressed and all my makeup and everything on a lot earlier than I had to. We got there
I had to
3
work
hours.
that day, and I left early. What time did the show start?
What
time was it?
Doors opened for us at 8:30, and we got there at a little after 5.
Yeah, I was about to say, what time did we actually get in the parking lot and sit there for hours?
Yeah.
Hours. We don't care though.
We ended up being
It was worth
the
every-
third or fourth couple in line.
I think we were fourth couple in line, and I remember when we walked into Zany's, I looked at the people and I was like, I want to be as close as possible. I was like, just put me up there. And they started walking us up, and the first couple that was in line was sitting there, and I was like, if they are okay with us sitting with them, I want to sit right here. And they walked us up, and I looked at the couple, and I was like, do you mind if we share a table with you? And they're like, not at all. And I was like, fantastic. So we sit down. We're waiting. They're late, but we don't really care. But it's building, and then they come out. I stand. I can't remember what it was I did, but Jason Mewes looks at me and he points, and I point back at him. We had this moment of recognition. We're like, yeah, I get what you're saying. And then they go through their whole, storytelling.
But it was amazing because all of this anticipation, and yet I thought I was super excited. I thought that I was already super excited.
No.
But then I got there, and I was sitting there, And I was waiting, and I was waiting, and I was waiting, and I was like drinking, and I was drinking, and I was drinking. And then
she had two. They were strong.
The first one was strong. The second one was kind of weak. If you go to Zany's, don't get the sweet revenge. But anyway, and then like okay. I love Jason Mewes. I think that Jason Mewes is hilarious. I think he is very funny. But
that dude is all over the place.
Okay, but meeting him for me was not like, it was exciting and it was amazing, and like I would have been excited to meet Jason Mewes. But meeting him was not quite like meeting Kevin Smith, because
I have to disagree.
Well, for you it might have been different, but let me tell my story, motherfucker. So anyway, I forgot. He can kill prostitutes now. I'll explain that later.
We have a clip for that.
Yes. We'll get to that in a moment.
We've moved up. We have clips.
I know. Okay, so anyway, I kept like staring directly at Kevin Smith because it kept hitting me over and over and over again that this person that I idolize, because he's a writer, he is a director, he is fucking artistic as hell. I mean, he's directed some of my favorite shows and movies. He's a huge geek. He's basically made himself into a professional geek.
He has written some of the best issues in certain comics as well.
I mean, you can tell your story in a minute. Shut up.
I was just adding to your story.
So, like, and the fact that he didn't go to film school, right? Like, he's not professionally trained to do most of the things that he's done. But what he did is he grew up and he became a geek, and then he had this huge comic book collection that he'd collected over his entire life, and he was like, I want to make movies. I love movies, and I want to make movies. So he sold his comic book collection to be able to make a movie, and he made Clerks.
Yes.
And he took this like small indie film and basically built a fucking empire out of it. And it's amazing to me because like he owns a comic book store and he gets to do all of these things and interact with all of these people and do what he loves for a living. And I love my day job, but I want to be the female version of Kevin Smith. I want to be a professional geek. I want to do this for a living. I mean, I love doing this. I love just geeking out over stuff and talking to people about the stuff that they geek out over. And I mean, I love it. So to have him, this person that I idolize so much, like right there, like as far as I am from this fucking camera that's, taping me right now, it was surreal. It was like, oh my God, Kevin Smith I could almost touch him.
I do.
He did touch him.
Yeah, I shook his hand. Now, there were a couple moments where, like, my brain couldn't process it, and it was trying to actually put a screen, like a computer screen or something, between me and Kevin Smith, and I was like, no, dude, he's there. This is... Because, people are like, oh, people are different in real life. I'm like, no. He is the same in real life as you see him in movies and whatnot. Now, this could be very well an act that he puts on, while he's touring and stuff like that. And if it is, then fuck it, it's a beautiful act. But if it's not, then he's still an amazing person. Now, the reason why I still cherished having Jason Mewes there as much as having Kevin Smith is Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes go together. That's it. I mean, when you think of Silent Bob, there's Jay. And people don't know Kevin Smith without knowing Silent Bob. You could be like, oh, well, Kevin Smith is the director of Red State. And you're like, what? What the fuck is Red State? Or Tusk. What the fuck is Tusk?
I don't know. I think that there are people...
But you mentioned...
No.
He's the guy, he's Silent Bob in fucking Clerks, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Mallrats, and shit like that. And he's like, oh, Jay and Silent Bob. And they're like, yeah.
I think that there are definitely people who know who he is on his own.
Well, yeah, but in the back of the mind, there's also Jay.
I mean, I think there are people who know who Kevin Smith is on his own. I don't know if there are a lot of people who know who Jason Mewes is on his own. But there, I mean, and don't get me wrong, seeing Jason Mewes was also extremely exciting for me, and which leads me into a small story.
Actually, I can think of a movie right now that Jason Mewes in that Kevin Smith wasn't in, even though Kevin Smith directed it. Jazz hands.
So anyway, small story.
Oh my gosh.
Because I'm going to tell the story because I have knowledge you don't know. Jason Mewes.
Do not spoil it.
No, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to talk about someone who tried to spoil it.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm not going to give you any details, but
I pointed it out.
Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes did a scene from a movie.
Now everybody knows that because they put it on internet. Kevin Smith is coming out with Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah,
reboot.
there's gonna be another Jay and Silent Bob movie,
Yes.
and they were doing the scene from the new Jay and Silent Bob movie, and they asked, so like Zanies has a rule that you can't record anything. But apparently, Kevin Smith didn't give a fuck, and he didn't care if we recorded the whole goddamn thing.
Which
I
didn't
wish
find
I
out
had
later.
known. Which I had known earlier. But anyway, so it was amazing because he's like, this is the one thing you cannot record.
Well, she's going
Do
on this. I'll
not
be
spoil it for other people. If you do, I'm going to stop and I'm going to stare at you. And then he's like, so phones down, no one record. Now, if you're going to record the part that they tell you not to record, you might want to be, I don't know, slick about it. Not in the first row, not at the first round of tables. This woman sitting right next to us, very nice woman, by the way, but she's like...
This is how close she was. All right, so I'm sitting where I'm sitting. Brandy is the person that's right next to me, even though at the show she was right here. The lady was actually right here. And I saw the phone come out, and I was like, bloop. And then Jay saw it, and he pointed.
He pointed. And then, like, they kept going with the scene, and then Kevin was like, wait, why did you point? And
There's a phone.
There's a phone. And Kevin was like, that's the one thing I said. And
I
then, like,
haven't mentioned my heart attack.
He did. He used the heart attack as
To
his guilt.
which she was shamed.
She was.
Game of Thrones style, which
Yeah.
somebody else was.
Like,
Shame.
literally, everyone started going, shame, shame, shame.
Show of hands, real quick. Who else was shamed Game of Thrones style?
But.
We'll get to that here in a minute.
But.
That's
I
in the
mean,
clip. That's in the clip.
Spoilers!
Spoilers.
Slight spoiler for the clip. Okay, so one of the things that Harry and I always argue about, right, is Batman. Because
Let's not get into that
No,
right
no, because I fucking hate Batman. I just want to say, I have now lived the dream. Because I argued Batman with the Fat Man on Batman. I argued with the Fat Man on Batman. Like, that's just, Okay,
Alright, so.
continue.
Alright.
Sorry.
Now,
So excited. My heart.
got a little bourbon on my fingers. I fixed
I
it.
would leave you for Kevin Smith.
Anyways.
His wife is a lot hotter than me, though.
Anyways. So they get through their whole thing, and then, at the end of every show, they play a game called Let Us Fuck. Now, I asked the lady that was sitting in basically Brandy's position right next to me how the show was, and she said when they played Let Us Fuck, they had picked a guy that was basically in my same seat because of beards. And I was like, holy shit, I'm in the running. But I really didn't put too much into it. I was like, well, I mean, they had one bearded guy on the show before. They're probably not going to put one in the second one. And if they don't, I'm cool with that. So they get to this point, and they're like, okay, we're going to pick 3 volunteers. I obviously raised my hand, because even though I'm like, well, they already had a bearded fella, in it, I'm still going to volunteer because why the fuck not? I didn't know this, but my lovely wife here was sitting there going, that right there. You know, she had her fingers pointing at my head going, him, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? When they picked volunteers, Jason Mewes immediately looks at me and he goes, you. And I'm like, fuck yeah. So I crawl up on stage. And then he takes his time picking 2 other people. But the quickness that he picked with me, and I was like, oh shit, okay, let's do this. I was the second one to, I was the first one to pick, but the second one to go. Now, if you don't mind, what transpired can only be described with the clip. So, hopefully, you're about to watch the clip, and then you'll see what happened. So, enjoy.
Meanwhile, we'll talk to this next cat. Hey man, what's your name?
My name's Harry.
Harry, give it up for Harry, ladies and gentlemen. Harry, that is a stunning beard game you have going on.
Thank you, sir.
How long?
About a year.
Right on, man. What's the reaction to it?
About the same one you give me. Everybody's like, that's a nice beard.
Like, in respect, right? You never meet anybody that's like, take it off. But if you did, you fucking
He has no
miserable.
chin.
Nobody would recognize you.
I have an English chin, which means it's non-existent.
That's what it goes down or something? Yeah,
Yeah.
good for beard. Let's see. It's fucking astounding, man.
I don't see why I grow beard.
That's the closest shit to shape-shifting I've ever seen. That was amazing. I too grew the beard for also to give my face some dimension and shape, or to keep it from spreading, really. To give it some kind of shape. So, what do you do when you're not doing this sort of thing?
I do a podcast with my wife.
Oh, what's it
We
called?
actually have an episode that's it's called A Tale of Two
A
Geeks.
Tale of Two Geeks,
Yep.
man. They can download it anywhere. How many episodes do you have?
32.
32.
32.
33 when we get home tonight because we make another one about you.
Oh, yeah, 34 because we also have to do an episode about Deadpool 2. Go see it.
Yeah. Isn't it great podcasting?
Yes.
It's fucking fun. And you guys do it together? That's
Yes.
adorable.
Yeah, we drink and then we just talk out of our ass.
Argue about Batman.
It's just fucking, I mean, honestly, like, I know it's going to sound weird or just something to say, but like, isn't it, I won't say it's better than, but isn't it as satisfying as fucking each other?
More.
More because
Without thinking instantly, she's like, more! She's like, you saw it, it was chin. It's wonderful, isn't it? Like, think about it, you're in a relationship and stuff, and then when you talk to each other all the time, but because you're doing a show, the dichotomy of the conversation has to change slightly and stuff.
oh yeah, she threatens to divorce me at least 3 times. And also, real quick, she doesn't like Batman.
Why?
Because he has no superpowers. No.
I can't help you on this one.
No. He's not a good superhero.
He's not a good superhero, you think?
No, he has no superpowers. He's
no superpowers.
he's a
But
dick.
That's the fun part.
He's
about
a dick that dresses up and like pretends to be a cop.
Yeah.
The fuck?
A cop just a
Yeah.
Also, if you don't mind, how's Stan doing?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Based on social media, fine, but I don't know how much of that I actually believe. But I haven't seen him in a long time, and I used to see him all the time. Not like, hey Stan, like let's go to the horse. But I would see him. I'd see him at cons. I've seen him at the cons all the time and stuff. So I was used to seeing him on a regular basis, and we would wind up doing like interviews and stuff. Whenever he needed to be interviewed, I was like the guy that he'd be like, Kevin, you want to do it? So I would see him at least once a month, sometimes 2-3 times a month, and I have not seen him in months.
Well, I hope I speak for everybody here when I say we appreciate the offer that you made for him.
Yes. That was actually, I said, hey man, if it's Stan, you can come live with me and stuff, which is every boy's dream.
Yes.
I'm trying to bring everybody down, but I was
No worries,
curious.
and I still haven't heard from him at all. So I don't know. It's where, yeah, they just took all of his numbers that I had for Stan are gone. dead. They
What?
don't work anymore.
Show us how.
He had it. We should. It'd be amazing. It's a weird
Okay, let's go
situation.
now.
It's a weird situation. You can read about it online and stuff like that. But yeah, I have no way to get in contact with him beyond social media at this point. I do know where he lives, but I think it'd be creepy to just show up and be like, "Stan, it's Silent Bob." All right, we're gonna see some sex. Step back. Here we go, man.
So, what the fuck, right?
That's what happened.
Like, Kevin Smith asked Harry. Okay, so there's one thing that you can't see in the clip, and that is when Kevin Smith asks my dear husband what he does for a living,
Actually, I think you can kind of see your hand shoot up with the card.
but you can't really see what's going on, so I'm going to explain it.
Oh, hang on.
He says later, like after the show, he tells me that he was going to say, I work in a lumberyard. But then he saw the card and he was like, oh shit, don't fuck this up. I do a podcast with my wife.
Now, before we get into that, right before that, I don't know if it shows it in the clip or not, but I asked while we're sitting there, while Kevin's talking to the first volunteer, I asked Jason Mewes, I'm like, hey man, can my wife like take pictures or record me up there, doing Let Us Fuck? And he's like, yeah, no problem. We just didn't want any recordings of that script being read because we, don't want any spoilers. I was like, bet. So I look at my wife, I'm like, pull out your phone and start recording. And she's like, shit, fuck, god damn it, no, okay. Boop. And then she gets it out, and then, Kevin talks to the first volunteer. And then Jay and them go.
He didn't really talk to her much. And
then I get up on, and then, you saw.
I cut this out of the clip because I don't want to get in trouble with you two, but like her ass cheeks were like half covered.
I mean, they're hanging out a little bit.
I mean, hey, you do you, rock yourself. I don't fucking care.
If they make it into the clip, that's fine. I don't think
I
there's.
couldn't. No, you'll get in trouble for that on YouTube.
No, I've seen worse on YouTube.
We don't have a high enough rating for that. Anyway, so yeah, that was the thing. Also, he didn't really talk to her that much. He talked to you a lot, and he talked to the other chick a lot. He didn't really talk to her.
Even though I was curious as to know what had happened to Stanley, and for those of you who don't know, who I was asking about when I said, how is Stan? And I love the fact that when I looked at him and went, how is Stan? He immediately knew who I was talking about.
He brought the whole room down.
And I apologize that, but I love Stan Lee. And what I've been reading about him has brought great concern. So I wanted to ask the one person that I thought would be closest to him and have the most ease of access to him. Had I known it would have resulted in, bringing the room down a little bit, I would not have asked. But I love Stan Lee. Mr. Lee. I just want nothing but the best. Go live with Kevin Smith. It might be a little weird when he's like, Uncle Stan, will you read me a comic? Just bear with him.
I would totally do that. I totally would. I'd be like, Uncle Stan.
I mean, if I had room to house Stan Lee and I was able to house Stan Lee.
And we knew Stan Lee personally.
Right, and I was, I would be like, could you read to me, Fantastic Four number 5, the introduction of Doctor Doom? Like, that's kind of weird and creepy because you're like 35? Oops, I gave away my age. She's older than me.
29.
But I wanted to know how Stan Lee was, man. And I don't regret it. I'm just... Anyways. But, after we get done, it was also a surreal moment. And I was glad I was able to step back a little bit to let the moment happen and not fangirl all over my fucking self and Kevin Smith. I thought I did pretty good. I mean, you guys can be the judge of it.
You held your own better than I would have. I said better than I would have. Better than I would have.
Better.
Anyway.
Anyways. But, that whole sitting outside with Jason Mewes, going over a sexual position that I'm about to perform on him, was an awesome moment. And I knew if I wanted to represent A Tale of Two Geeks, I couldn't just flabbergast everything and just be like, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, I kind of wanted it. I wish I could have like an hour with the both of them. Be like, oh my god, can I pick your fucking brain?
And like,
can I smoke some weed with you and just fucking go?
The amazing thing is that, okay, so it was like a dream to have Kevin Smith, you know, actually notice us and whatnot. And, you know, him talking about the podcast and how awesome it was to do a podcast, you know, and podcasting with your wife, that must be really awesome and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, like, that in and of itself was awesome. And obviously, you know, we do kind of want to get that, you know, a little bit of a boost maybe from Kevin Smith favoriting a tweet, or, which he did, and, or, you know, mentioning our podcast on his podcast, which is now a thing, and Harry being, you know, fucked by Jason Mewes on his podcast, which is now a thing.
Dick sucking.
So, I mean, obviously all of that is stuff that, like, we want, you know, but just, even if none of that happened, right, just a little bit of a boost that we got, because last night after the show, Harry gets up to go to the restroom, and I'm just sitting there waiting on the check so we can pay, and people started asking me for business cards. Like, everyone in the room knew that Kevin Smith had never seen our podcast or listened to our podcast. Obviously, because this is the first time he's fucking hearing of our podcast, because he's Kevin Smith and we're A Tale of Two Geeks. We are not quite on Kevin Smith's level. So obviously he's never noticed us before.
We'll get there. Eventually.
We will. Gosh darn it, we're gonna make it.
Gee willikers.
But just like that little bit of a boost, because people knew that he didn't know that we were a great podcast. He didn't say that we were a great podcast. Just, our podcast was mentioned by Kevin Smith. And so when he's in the restroom, you know, fucking peeing or whatever, people were walking up to me saying, hey, do you have business cards? Or, hey, can I get one of those business cards?
Now, I did have a couple, when I exited the restroom. One lady stopped me and went, hey, so my husband went to the bathroom before you were on stage and revealed your chin. Is there any way you could reveal your chin to him? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, no problem. Where's your husband at? And she, apparently he was sitting there right next to me. I just didn't see him. And I did, which, you know, for you folks, I'm going to do exactly, you know, what I did for Kevin Smith here, so you can see exactly what he found was so astounding. Now,
it's going to be in the clip.
Yeah, but you can't really see it up close as you would right now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So pay attention.
That's true.
Because we have this beard. Now, what I thought of earlier, which I wish I had thought of it while there, is my chin is kind of like Theon Greyjoy after his interaction with the Bolton, Ramsay Bolton. So, you know the scene I'm talking about where, you know, Theon's on the beach and somebody kicks him and he's like, well, see, my chin is not existent. Watch. And there it is. I shapeshifted. I went from biker, tough guy extraordinaire to, holy shit, he has no chin. Cheers.
Any other comments or questions or concerns about the Kevin Smith experience?
Other than the whole experience was just amazing as a whole. Even if nothing comes out of it for us as a podcast, I still enjoyed it.
I mean, yeah, it was amazing.
It was a fantastic evening.
It was funny. If you guys are out there watching and you can go see Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes live for like a Jay and Silent Bob Get Old tour, do it. It's hilarious.
I mean, like I said earlier, fuck that, you know, don't meet your heroes because sometimes they're dicks. No, go meet your heroes. Evaluate whether or not they are dicks, because a lot of the times they're not. Some let the stardom go to their head and they're like, oh my god, you're just a peasant. and I'm an immortal god on the silver screen. And then others are like, no, I know what it's like to be in that situation where you're just starting out, and I appreciate how you guys contribute to us getting where we're at, because they're not stars without us. And those are the heroes that you want to meet. So go out, meet your heroes, and enjoy them. Don't ask too much of them because they don't owe you anything.
Exactly, like that one woman who was there for the 6:30 show and the 9 o'clock show. She said, that a lot of people were really upset that there wasn't a meet and greet. And I'm like, I'm disappointed.
I was a little upset too, but at the same time, Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes don't owe us anything.
See, I wasn't upset. Like, it's not like, oh, fuck Kevin Smith. It was like, oh man.
Yeah.
But I understand that, like, the tickets didn't say meet and greet.
No, they did not.
I shouldn't have expected one, and I didn't pay for that. That was not part of the deal. That was not part of the arrangement that was made between, me and Kevin Smith's people. Because I'm assuming he doesn't set that shit up himself. So, yeah, I think that there are definitely fans out there who ask entirely too much of, their heroes.
A small little rant. I think a lot of fans do that, asking too much of, people who put themselves out in the media. We expect them to do certain things, and they really don't owe us shit.
Well,
they entertain us. That's all they fucking owe us.
The one thing that...
Unless they agree to, if they go to a con, if they go to a comedy show, and it says in the tickets a meet and greet, and then they don't come up with, then yeah, there's a problem. But if the tickets don't present a meet and greet, you shouldn't expect one.
I will say this. I do think that there is a huge problem in the con community with celebrities. And I say this because the tickets to get into cons are not cheap.
No.
A lot of the fan base are in our tax bracket, which is we don't have.
Our tax bracket is so low you can't see it right now. But even though my hand's right here, our tax bracket is down here and you can't see it.
We're not. There are definitely people doing a lot worse than us. We are comfortable, but we don't have. We can't afford the hotel, the tickets,
and $50 a fucking selfie with a celebrity.
Food while we're there, stuff to drink while we're there because cons normally happen a lot in the summer, and then also $20-$50 a selfie. I think that basically you should get paid for your time for being there, of course, but I don't think that when you're talking about Comic-Con, the tickets are a couple $100. And then hotels are going to be a couple $1,000, and then you're also expected to pay $50 for a photo op, or $50 for a signature. And then when you times that by the amount of people there, and the fact that they're being paid to be there,
I don't think they are.
No, a lot of them are. A lot of people get there.
I don't think they get as much as we might think, because there's a lot of money that has to go in to make sure these cons continue. So I think that's why, one of the reasons why these, people are charging so much for selfies and autographs and things like that. But obviously they don't really care if they get a whole lot because they're still making money.
I will make this promise. And I'm not going to ask Harry to do it, but I will make this promise. If we ever make it, if I'm ever the female version of Kevin Smith, then I promise I will never charge for a selfie or an autograph. I will never charge for a selfie or an autograph. However,
I'll charge for an autograph. I'm not charging for a selfie.
However, I'm not. However,
they're gonna eBay that shit and make money off of it.
I will shame you. However,
I don't give a fuck.
Shame. I'm gonna sign. If I'm gonna sign something for you, I'm gonna it's like the Rick and Morty dude that we met. I will sign anything for you. I don't care.
Oh yeah,
but
something sparks. I can't
I'm
remember.
not going to sign a stack of the same shit, because then I know you're selling it.
Oh, yeah.
But I will give you the benefit of the doubt. You come to me and you're like, here's this, here's a DVD copy of your podcast. And I'm like, da-da-da. I'm going to charge you for that because, for one, you are my fan. You've probably put more money into being my fan before. So I just want to thank you for being my fan, because without you, I wouldn't have a job.
Now, I will say this. I will charge you for an autograph, but I'm not going to charge you $50. I'm going to charge you $1. I want $1. That's all I want.
If he does that, I also promise to shame him into giving that $1 to, like, puppy relief or something.
Anyways,
You won't need the dollar.
I'm stealing this. That's all we have for today. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
That's no, I'm cutting that out. I'm cutting
Come
that out.
on, let me do it.
No, I'm cutting it out. That's all we have for today. Be sure to follow us on the Facebook and the Twitter and the Instagram. Our latest episodes will always be available on SoundCloud. I don't know how that's going to work with the video episodes, so
YouTube.
stay tuned for that.
No
We're also
cookies.
going to be on Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, PlayerFM, and TuneIn, and Patreon, which would be wonderful if you could just give us a little bit of money so we can buy a better camcorder to do this with. That'd be great.
I mean, we do need better equipment.
We need better
We'll
equipment.
work on that.
We'll work on it. We don't expect you to give us your money yet for this, but
We just got, done saying,
that's autographs and shit. This is actually our craft.
Okay.
Anyway.
Real quick, too. As always, our ads are sponsored by CodeAuthors.com, and shout out to Boom Styles and all the other people that help support us and get us to where we're at. If you go to Code Authors for all your website needs, enter in the promo code 2, that's the number 2, followed by Geeks, Geeks, for, what is it, 15% and 10%? How much?
I think it's 15.
15% off all your website needs. And they do other than website development, it is also e-commerce, digital marketing, an app, or
They do all
whatever.
kinds of stuff. They're really cool people.
So yeah, make sure you're sorry that we didn't cut it in the middle of it. But, Boom Styles, and then Samantha Spooky, she's a professional cosplayer, and then everybody else. But other than that, don't forget to stay geeky. Good night.